Hi guys, Freaky Fishka here with another video for today. Instead of doing on my normal content, I'm going to do a top 5 today. And today we're going to look at the top 5 gimmick decks that worked. This means that any deck that had a different or interesting playstyle that actually was relevant to the meta game. So, first thing though guys, I'd love to give a shout out to Waki on Dueling Book for a great game and a great conversation. I'm always happy to talk to describers or just people in the community who feel like they need a chat or want to talk about the water in the meta or just decks in general. In 5th place we have True Draco. Tribute summoning, one of the OG summoning methods. Not as bad as Ritual, but it lost its significance the further game advanced. You know, the further the game moves into combo, the less relevant tribute summoning was. We had things like Monarchs and Klee that dominated their format, but Draco just took it to a whole another level. Just understand the benefits of being able to tribute spells and traps to summon. That alone makes them better than any other tribute archetypes, much more consistent. Then you add the benefits of the spells giving you extra normal summons. So instead of needing a monster such as Eidos to summon and then use its effect, you can just set a spell or trap, use it as a tribute fodder, and summon your boy. Or you can use the effect of Heritage to get an additional tribute summon. This means technically in Draco you can get 3 tribute summons per turn. That is insane when compared to things like Monarchs and Klee. Then we have the extra removal effects of the spells and traps going to grave, because why not? Why not just give them extra stuff so they can actually go second and remove threats from the board? We have even got to the things like Masterpiece and Diagram, which made the deck extremely consistent and have very, very high ceiling. I'll say ceiling as if like a combo, but there were a lot of things that couldn't out a Masterpiece when Masterpiece came out. The deck brought tribute summoning back to the meta and made it a relevant deck for nearly 3 years up until Diagram and Demise hit. So 3 years of True Draco of tribute summoning being relevant. That was quite an interesting gimmick. Number 4 we have Infernity. What if I told you they made an archetype that worked against card advantage? That needed no cards in hand to work, and what if I told you it was one of the best decks of the last decade? Infernity was a bit weird. I wasn't around when it was really played. The ability to loop cards such as Archfiend and Necromancer to search spells and traps, including Infernity Barrier, a card that has been copied many times into other archetypes along the way, and has provided to be a very good card design, meant the deck had a lot of power. Adding things like Soul Charge, and the deck was extremely powerful and very resilient. Infernity Barrier is still played in today's decks like Salamangre, etc., and it gave the deck a lot of negation back in the day, especially when you also had things like Trishula to go into. Now, in 3rd place, we have Sigh Frames. Sigh Frames are a very interesting deck. Their whole game plan revolves around going first, but actually to go second in a weird way. So the deck revolves around its hand trap main deck monsters to deny the opponent valuable plays before quick effect synchroing into powerful synchro monsters that can hand loop your opponent in their turn. The only stipulation, you need to control no monsters pre-Lambda to play. This makes them a very unique gimmick, especially pre-Lambda, where you'd have them sort of going first, activating a field spell, maybe setting 1 or 2 traps, and then just doing nothing. I remember we've still got someone in our locals group who plays Sigh Frames, and I remember the first time playing it, Sigh Frames, it was a very interesting thing to play against, especially not knowing what they do. Today, unfortunately, they're not exactly relevant anymore, but when they came out, they saw a lot of play. Sigh Frame Gamma is still seen as a very good hand trap, especially in formats where Droll is very relevant. So Sigh Frames could see some more play, but when they came out, they're a very interesting deck to play against, and they have seen success in the metagame. Moving on to our second most gimmicky deck that was actually relevant, I'm going to actually put this place to Infernoids. This was an interesting deck when it dropped. Rather than tributing cards to normal summon them, every Infernoid card apart from Decatron had the summoning condition of banishing Infernoids from hand or grave, depending on the level. So sort of a tribute summon, except you banish from hand or grave instead. This meant the deck could easily summon multiple high-level monsters in each turn, in one turn in fact, with a useful effect, such as negating effects or removing cards. Each Inferno monster also had the ability to clear their own field to DD Crow a card from their graveyard, giving each monster, even the low level ones, an extra piece of interaction that could provide valuable for some matchups. This deck came into a new light, however, with the release of Lair of Darkness, allowing Infernos to quick effect tribute their opponent's monsters for cost before they could actually respond to target and banish that monster you distributed. If Grass ever comes back to free, expect Infernals to see a lot more play. They've dropped out recently, however, they have seen success in 2019 with different variants. I quite like this deck. I remember giving this deck to some of my friends as a beginner deck. It was a very interesting gimmick to play against. Before we get to our number 1 spot, I'm actually going to give a quick honourable mention to a deck that just missed out on our top 5. This honourable mention brought back an extremely disadvantaged summoning method. Of course, we have Necros. How are Necros gimmicky? The ability to use ritual monsters as hand traps allowed each ritual monster that was drawn to be useful rather than being a brick, such as in previous ritual decks. Brio and Claws provided insane levels of consistency, searching any piece you needed, and if this wasn't enough, Necros Kaleidoscope allowed the deck to use the extra deck as ritual material, something that had never been seen before. Putting tributes out of nowhere and using cards such as Hail the Arclight allowed the deck to plus a lot from ritual summoning. This deck's gimmicks brought ritual back to the metagame, and for that spot alone I'm going to give it the honourable mention of our top 5. And now for the number 1 gimmicky deck that actually worked. Of course, there was only one real option I could give to this spot. This deck has seen unrepeated success at many different events throughout different formats since its release. It has taken hits on the ban list, but still gone on to be relevant even today, 6 years after its release. That deck is obviously Burning Abyss. It's ironic that the most xenophobic deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been splashed into so many different deck ideas. We have seen Trap BA, BA Monarch, Grass BA, BA Infernoid, Hydroland BA, Block Dragon BA, 3-Axis BA, and many other versions, even some today still being created. No other deck I can think of can play combo and control so well. This deck is gimmicky in the way that every BA has a stipulation that if it sees another non-BA, it just combusts. Kaboom, no more BA. And each BA has a useful and toolboxy grave effect. Add in the legend that is Dante, being able to milf across and skip the ban list allows the deck to grind extremely well. As such, I'm crowning BA the most successful gimmicky deck that has ever been released in the TCG. Anyway guys, that was my top 5 gimmicky decks that actually worked and stayed relevant in the meta. Stay tuned for another video coming out soon where we look at top 5 decks that didn't work and why they failed, whereas the others we saw today thrived. See you next time. Goodbye.